Hello, my name is David Zabansky, and today I, along with Dr. Bo Ying from the University of Arizona, will be describing our paper, Green Infrastructure Design and Performance Evaluation, a practice-based interdisciplinary design and research. Moving into project overview and motivations, urban growth modifies the water cycle by expanding impermeable surfaces. So we are seeing an increase in the areas of impermeable parking lots, roadways, sidewalks, and all these surfaces modify the hydrology of the area by not allowing infiltration of water into the subsurface. This in turn increases the risk of severe flash flooding in downstream areas. A lot of cities are beginning to utilize green infrastructure, or GI, as a strategy to control runoff off of these surfaces. So in the bottom images, we have two examples of GI. The most common form of GI is what we see in the right-hand image, where we have a basin next to a roadway. A curb cut allows runoff flowing in the roadway to enter the basin, which then allows the water to infiltrate. Numerous studies focus on GI effects at small-scale parcels, but there's a need to identify the effects of GI at larger scales. The objective of this study is to determine the effects of GI on hydrologic responses in a larger scale, highly engineered watershed located in the semi-arid region of the Southwest US. In this project, we took an interdisciplinary design and modeling approach. So now, Bo Ying from the Landscape Architecture Department will describe the study site that we focused on in the design portion of this project.
The site is located in the southwest US, the city of Tucson in Arizona. The annual precipitation is about 300 mm, but usually concentrated in the winter and also the summer monsoon season. Our site is, to the left image, more than 86% is impervious cover, a total area of 29 hectares. Surface runoff going through to the north Rito River, as you can see on this image. We have 3 students teams. Each of them come up with a very different design approach, but in general, we have laid out some strategies for them. So the green infrastructure strategies we have are: number 1, providing basins and curb cuts for rainwater harvesting. Number 2, when there are buildings associated with the design, we promote green roof design and the systems for rainwater harvesting. And the third, we try to retrofit some of the impervious cover to pervious cover area, so in totally reduce the impervious cover area. But also this is a commercial site, so we want to maintain or enhance the existing site circulation and the site function as a commercial area. We want to maintain the pedestrian area and also don't reduce the parking stall for the site. This is one of the design proposals from the class. As you can see on the left side image, green infrastructure strategies just mentioned are applied spatially on the site area. And the team proposed a phasing approach with the performance expectation of 10% runoff reduction over time. The purpose of doing this phasing approach is to look at how the site is performing hydrologically while adding these different design components over time. This is another design proposal from the class. This team focused more on the surface rainwater harvesting potentials, as well as green roofs and the systems. So there's a series of color renderings and perspectives showing where those design interventions can happen. This is one of the design details showing how to daylight one of the streams or arroyos flowing through the site. In this section, you will see the treatment of the stream banks as well as the spatial and the functional relationship with the human use on the pathways. These two sections showing some basin design scenarios. The teams are proposing different depth for the basins, which is very critical for the modeling portion, which Dr. Zabansky will be talking about. By doing a series of those design scenarios, we can look at how the site is performing hydrologically and how much runoff reduction we can achieve.
For the next step in this process, we ended up taking the site designs and integrating them into a hydrologic model of the study site. To develop the model, we ended up using the Agua Urban tool, which is a GIS interface for creating inputs into the Kinross 2 hydrologic model. Kinross 2 is an event-oriented, spatially distributed model, meaning that the watershed area can be subdivided into many small urban parcels. The model simulates each individual parcel, and then you specify how water flows between the parcels. This bottom left-hand diagram shows how the land use in a parcel can be specified within Kinross. There are 8 primary land use components that you can choose from. As an example, if you have a parking lot that has small pervious islands surrounded by impervious parking lot, this configuration can be represented by the indirectly connected pervious and connecting impervious combination. In this case, any runoff from these parking lot islands flows onto the impervious parking surface and then into a primary street zone. One thing you notice is that Kinross allows you to place rainfall basins and curb cuts that gather water flowing from each of these land cover types. The right-hand image shows the final parcel design for the hydrologic model, shown with yellow lines. There were a number of challenges in designing the model for this site, such as engineered walls shown in red, drains from the parking lot shown in green, and storm drains connecting from the roads into the main channel shown in magenta. Then we ended up taking the model of this study site and simulating one of the design scenarios. The lower left-hand figure depicts all of the basins in red implemented in the model for this design scenario. As you can see, there are a number of smaller basins located within the parking lots and a number of larger basins located at the peripheral areas of the parking lots. 3 design storms were simulated based on NOAA-ALICE 14-point precipitation estimates. These storms were all 1 hour in length and had different return periods. Moving on to some preliminary results, we see generally a 40% reduction in runoff volumes dependent on storm magnitude. At a 1-year, 1-hour storm, which is shown in the bottom of the lower right-hand figure, we are seeing the largest reductions in runoff volume by up to 75%. But as storm magnitude increases, GI becomes less effective. At the 100-year storm magnitude, we are only seeing about a 42% reduction in runoff volumes. Liu et al. 2014 analyzed a number of previous studies that looked at GI effectiveness for small parcels less than 1 hectare in size. Most of those studies showed about a 60 to 90% reduction in runoff volumes, which corresponds to some of the results we are seeing in this study. One of the things we are noticing here is that as you increase the area of focus, the effect of GI becomes diminished. This might explain why we aren't seeing as large of reductions. Here we are focused on an area that's 29 hectares in size rather than 1 hectare. So one thing we might be seeing is as you move up to larger areas in a city, the benefit might not be as evident. Additionally, GI is typically designed to handle storms up to approximately 25 millimeters of rainfall in the US. The focus of GI is typically on these smaller storms, and we are in fact seeing that it is most effective for these less intense rainfalls. Overall, these were preliminary results. There is ongoing work in this project. And one of the next steps in the project would be to implement all of the design scenarios, which, as you remember, Bo mentioned that there were actually 3 design scenarios that the class implemented. Some of these design scenarios also include roof gardens and cisterns that collect water off of the roofs. So we need to be sure to implement all of these features. And so with this being said, I'd like to thank the LAR 511 Design Studio class led by Dr. Bo Yang at the University of Arizona for producing the site designs. I'd also like to acknowledge the funding for this work provided by the National Science Foundation and some of the other team members that were involved in this project. We thank everyone for listening to our presentation, and we will now take questions. Thank you.